This is a Dragon Blazer production.
Touchdown, Bengals! What? Don't throw that ball, you son of a bitch! Interception! Who Dey bitching about that Bengals? Hello, everyone, and welcome to Who Dey Bitchin'. I'm your host, Steven, and I have a special guest. This is Tim Boomer Chase. How you doing, Boomer?
Good. How are you, Steven?
Well, after week one, not great.
Right?
Not super great.
After years and years.
All right. So, yeah, well, I mean, we haven't won a playoff game since I was old enough to remember football. It's been a rough life indeed. So did you watch the game?
Yes, I saw parts and I had to watch it after the fact. I had to record it because I was at work, but yes, I watched the game.
Yeah. So I think the first thing I want to bitch about is those two flags. I also kind of want to bitch about that AJ Green flag, but technically extended his arm. It's technically offensive pass interference.
Technically.
It is. It's pass interference. I felt like it was kind of weak. I don't feel like it was pushed off, but you extend that arm, it's going to be called sometimes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, whatever. But there was a pass interference call on our defense earlier in the game that I thought was absolute bullshit. And I believe the commentators also said it was absolute bullshit. You know which one I'm talking about?
Yeah. Maybe not in those words, but yes, they said it.
They may have not used the words bullshit. They might not have used the word bullshit, but I felt like it was bullshit. And then there was I believe, a defensive holding call, or that was also called that they also was kind of questionable about.
Yeah.
Later on in the game.
Yeah.
I wish I was trying to find the game or highlights where I could watch those again, because I don't entirely remember what the players that were involved in those, but I didn't have it recorded. I watched it at my brother's when it happened, so I wasn't able to go through the game again. I found highlights, but nothing that talked about those interferences that kind of really pissed me off.
Yeah. Typical NFL reffing. You know, the refs have no excuse. It's not like they need an off season to get ready. Like,
yeah. I believe I mean, mind you, with how close that game was, I mean, we almost came back and won it. And if it wasn't because of Randy Bullock, do you hear that people are claiming that Randy Bullock faked that injury?
No, I have not heard that one.
Yeah, I've heard some people trying to, but if you watch the kick, it is so he holds his leg right after the kick. So I mean, that's pretty damn good fake reaction time.
He's selling, man. He's selling.
He's selling. He's doing a wrestling move. It's like, oh shit, my leg. No, I don't believe that.
I don't believe that either.
I mean, if they're really selling it, because they also picked up a kicker from the Browns that was recently cut.
Yeah.
Because of the fear of what might have happened. But yeah, so I guess first, well, not first thing, because I wanted to bitch about those penalties right off the bat.
Calls, yeah.
What was your opinion on Joe Burrow's debut?
I liked what I saw. I did. He's got a good presence. He didn't panic much. I liked everything I saw out of Burrow. He knew when to scramble, and he can actually scramble. How long has it been since we had a scrambler in Cincinnati? You know,
I
I don't
don't
know if I
know.
can even remember.
I'm not sure we've ever really had a true scrambler.
Did Jeff Blake? Jeff Blake might have scrambled a little. You remember Jeff Blake back in the
I
day?
remember Jeff Blake and was it Carl Pickens? Wasn't that the
That
wide
was one of the
receiver
that
tandem?
was one of the receivers. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I
that.
think.
If we talk about the good times, we have that history. We used to go to Bengals games every year back in the good old days.
Oh yeah, I love going to a Bengals game. Absolutely. Um, yeah, I was. I agree, and I was actually quite a bit of a critic of Joe Burrow and drafting him.
Yeah,
I personally wanted Chase Young. I felt like not so much because we needed a defensive lineman more than a quarterback, but I just feel like yes, Joe Burrow had a really, really, really good season. I mean, a fantastic, possible historic season, but I don't know if that one season was great enough to draft him as the number one pick.
right.
And then there's the other problem is our offensive line.
Oh my
Our
God, don't
offense
even. Uh,
our offensive line was rough.
yeah,
And they are rough and they were rough in this game. I'm looking up the stats right now of how many times Joe Burrow was sacked. And he was hit a lot too,
yeah.
which was just when I find the stats, we'll
That
talk about that.
and
But
that's something that's going to be a concern, especially with a rookie. But I mean, I'm with you. The way I've always looked at the draft, the number one, if you got the number one pick, you should draft the best player in the draft. That's the way I feel about it.
yeah, I
I
definitely
mean,
agree with that.
yeah,
Um,
and Young was the best player in the draft. But on the flip side, Burrow does look good. But if he can't be protective, if he gets injured, then what's going to happen?
yeah, he was sacked 3 times for a total of 20 yards.
Yeah,
And that's not including all the times they hit him because they almost got to him. That doesn't count all the times that players during rushing attempts was tackled in the
tackled
backfield.
him.
But he was sacked 3 times, and I know I saw him get hit a lot.
Yeah,
Our number one concern should be that offensive line. In my opinion,
definitely.
that
Yeah,
is what we need to be working on is that
yeah.
offensive line. Because
Especially when you're starting a rookie quarterback. I
Because I
mean,
will, I will say, because like I said, I was a bit of a skeptic. Not that I hated the drafting him, because I agree it was time to move on from Andy. I don't hate
definitely.
Andy like a lot of people do.
No,
If my sister, the person I was gonna try to get on here first, if he was on here, we would have probably had a Andy Dalton bitch fit. Like we would. He hates Andy Dalton, and I didn't. I didn't hate him. I didn't hate Marvin
no.
Lewis. I
Uh,
I felt like it was kind of like I feel like there. I agree there should be a change. There needed to be a change. It was just time,
with time,
but
things
I
get
didn't.
stale.
But I didn't hate the people that were there. I didn't hate Marvin. I didn't hate Andy. Um, I felt like last year Andy maybe could have had a better season had we had an offensive line.
I,
Also,
yeah,
he was missing AJ Green all season last
yeah,
year. Um, it's like there's only so much you can do.
yeah.
So
I
now
mean,
we got.
it's after a while, it's just like Tom. Who would ever thought Tom Brady would have left New England? But after a while, you just need change. And people dog on Andy Dalton all the time, and he didn't take us where he wanted. But if you look at his stats, Andy Dalton's up there with quite a few of the top quarterbacks. He may not be Tom Brady, but if you look at him stat wise,
I
he's had a
mean,
good career.
he's definitely up there. He's definitely at
Yeah,
least middle of the pack. In
yeah.
fact, there's a podcast I listen to. I believe it's the Around the NFL one where they call it the Andy Dalton line. So essentially, they put Andy Dalton as the prime meridian,
Right.
and you're
Yeah.
either above him
Above or
or
below.
below him. He
You,
is right there in the middle.
you hear that a lot though. Even on ESPN, people will kind of use him as like the middle measuring
Yeah,
stick there.
Andy.
That's
Well, I don't know what they're going to do now. What are you going to do now? You don't have Andy Dalton.
yeah,
Like, who's going to take Andy
yeah.
Dalton's place as the
Right.
prime meridian? You know?
Yeah, because he's not going to take any snaps in Dallas. That's for sure. Yeah, I mean, you
I
got
mean,
Dak there.
yeah,
But no,
not
I'm not going to
everybody
bitch.
loves Doc.
I'm not going to bitch about Dalton or Lewis. If you want to have a bitch fest, we can bitch about the owner. If you want, if you
Oh,
want to go that route,
yeah, yeah, fucking Mike Brown.
he's not as
By the way,
bad.
if you hadn't gathered, I named this podcast "Who Dey Bitching." It is not censored. You can say whatever you want.
Yes,
This is
not family friendly.
no.
It's a bitch fest.
It is a
That's the
bitch
name.
fest. That is exactly what this is. I recognize that, I would love to be wrong and not have a lot to bitch about this year about football, but let's face it, every year we're normally bitching about football.
Yeah,
And
because
you
it's
know
always
what?
something.
We came close not to bitching about this game. You know what? If we would have came back and we would have won this game, I may not have called this Who Dey Bitching. Who knows? I may not have created this podcast if I didn't want to start bitching about
It
that
just
game.
it just took that one game, and you're like, here we go again. Here we
Yeah,
go
here we
again.
go.
Could be
But
worse. It could be Browns fans, though. I mean,
we will talk about games around the league at the later on. Right now, that we're bitching about the Bengals.
that's right.
But I do want to say that Andy or not Andy Dalton, Joe Burrow, he impressed me. He was
Yeah, he impressed me too.
and he didn't have a great game, obviously. He had a lot of rookie mistakes, but the spots where he's like, I wanted to kill him after that shovel pass. That
Yeah,
shovel pass, oh my gosh, I could not believe he tossed that directly to a defender. Like, seriously, what the fuck?
that was trying to do those fucking college tricks that don't always work in the
Oh,
NFL. You can't just be lollygagging the ball around like
I
that.
feel bad for my children, my brother, his children. After that
Uh,
happened, I'm pretty sure all the obscenities flew out when he tossed that. But you know what? Literally, next time he has that ball, Joe Burrow was on fire. That man was throwing darts and getting completion after completion. And by all means, he did what he needed to do to deserve that win. It's not his fault, AJ, pushed off. And I'm not even hating on AJ for doing that. It happens. It
yeah,
happens. It wasn't egregious. They called it. It's what it is.
and it
You
was one of
know.
those plays that could have went either way. Some
But
refs might not have called it. He got
but
called.
Burrow threw that ball right to him. He got it. It would have been a touchdown.
Yeah,
He
and he
did
got
what
it.
he needed to do to win.
Amen. And you look at the fact that there was no preseason, there was really no off
Yeah,
season. You got to
no
account with all
preseason
that.
for a brand new quarterback. I mean, like I said, I did want to kill him after that shovel
Yeah,
pass. And to
yeah,
be honest with you, up until it's like, I think he just goes to a different level at the 2-minute drill because he wasn't playing like that the entire game.
no,
Maybe he needs to figure out a way to play like that
right.
all
Treat
game,
the
and
whole
we
game
might
like a
have,
2-minute drill.
because he was getting the ball out quick. He was tossing it. He was
Oh,
hitting everyone. I mean, maybe that's what he needs. Maybe he needs to speed up his game, and maybe that will help out the offensive line as well. If he can get that ball out quick, defenders aren't going to use the offensive line as a crutch anymore. They're not going to attack it.
yeah. I think we need to see too. The running game wasn't horrible, but I think more of the running game could help with the offensive line and the protection as well.
Yeah, I mean, Mixon didn't have a terrible day.
I think he had 69 yards. Could be wrong.
I'm about to check it, but yeah, I think he had a decent day at
Yeah, it
least.
wasn't horrible, but I would like to see some more of that, so Burrow doesn't have to throw 60 passes every game.
He unfortunately didn't, um, kill it, and he didn't he didn't take the game onto his shoulders or anything. But he had 69 yards, 19
9
carries.
yards. Yeah. So
Green did all right with 5 receptions, 51 yards. Not terrible, not AJ Green numbers, but
no.
and Joe Burrow had 23 out of 36, 193 yards and an interception. but he had that really nice scramble, 23-yard scramble for the touchdown, their first touchdown.
Yeah,
and that
and
was
it looked great. It
would
looked
have been
great.
it would have been nice if he had a tossing touchdown as well, but
To the wrong, yeah,
you
yeah.
know, like you mentioned, there was no preseason.
No,
This is
and
his
just look at
first
that.
game
Look at
with
the
Gabe.
overall chemistry they had in that game. I mean, the team overall did look good as a team. They were clicking, which is amazing considering there was no offseason.
Yeah, and I believe at least last year the Chargers defense, especially their defensive line, is pretty stellar. I mean, they got Joey Bosa on that line. I mean, we were facing a good defensive line, so it could have been way worse.
We were facing a good team. The only thing that changed there was Phillip Rivers is gone, but they kept all their core players, and they
Yeah,
were a
but
tough defense last
it
year.
it was hard to take a loss to Tyrod Taylor though.
It was.
I mean, I think Phillip Rivers is a decent quarterback. Tyrod Taylor, there's nothing that suggests he's a decent quarterback. And
No,
so I wasn't a big fan of that. Got to bitch a little bit about Tyrod Taylor. But
that's where I saw a little bit of defensive concerns too. Maybe not a ton, but it was a heartbreaker. I feel like that game should have been a blowout on our end.
I'm pretty sure I cried a bit when
You probably did.
Randy Bullock. I'm like, oh my gosh, we're at least gonna tie it. We're gonna. Oh no! Wide right. It wasn't even close. It wasn't like we were looking at that ball and thinking, is it gonna make it? Is it gonna make it?
No,
The
you knew right
second
away.
it was gone. Second it started going up. It was wide right. Oh.
Not even fucking close.
My heart can't keep taking this. Oh.
You don't have a choice. You're gonna have to switch teams, one or the other.
Yeah. Well, I'm a stubborn man.
Both
I
of us,
have way too much Bengals stuff to give up now. You know, I've essentially been a fan of the Bengals. Like, I mean, I've always essentially been a fan because my dad's a Bengals fan, so he kind of imparted that on to me. My uncle was a Bengals fan.
That's
so
where
it's
I
like,
got it from. Yeah.
So listeners, if you don't know, this used to be my stepbrother. He's my brother that used formerly known as the Step.
We're still brothers. It's fine.
Yeah. I mean, we still love each other and all that, but you know, it's so we grew up. My dad was his stepdad, so you know, we've come from the same cloth a little bit.
Yeah.
Not that anybody cares.
Our other brother went to the dark side and went with those Raiders, but that's okay.
Yeah, he went after my other uncle, and became a Raiders fan. He still roots for the Bengals, though. He may not admit it to you, but he's got Bengals jerseys and everything.
Oh man, he wouldn't. I've seen pictures.
Yeah.
I've seen pictures. He can't deny it.
No, I mean, his heart's in now Las Vegas. They
Las
switch.
Vegas, yeah.
They switch. And they looked pretty good. I watched that game this weekend too. I went to my brother's to watch football, and we watched the Las Vegas Raiders, and they won. I don't know if it was pretty. I mean, I think the Panthers still scored like 30 points.
Yeah.
It was down to the end there, but they won.
Yeah, I didn't even get to see any of that. I don't even know who the Panthers quarterback is. I didn't see any of that game.
Shoot.
Yeah, so you can't remember either because it's been Cam all these years.
I watched the game. It was Teddy Bridgewater, I believe. It was Teddy Bridgewater. Yeah, and right. Cam Newton looked pretty decent in
New England. Yeah.
Yeah,
and Tom got destroyed.
Yeah.
Tom Brady got ran over. So.
Yeah, so anybody who knows me knows that I cannot stand Tom Brady, and never have enjoyed him. I don't like the Patriots. I don't like cheaters. I've always said that I feel, and I don't like Bill Belichick or anything, but I also recognize that I don't think that Tom Brady would be considered as good as he is if it wasn't for Bill Belichick. I feel like Tom Brady, I mean, he's a good quarterback, obviously. you do what you do on the field. But I feel like he gets helped a lot by being the quarterback for Bill Belichick. And there's a part of me that wants the Patriots to do well and Tom Brady to do bad to prove my point. But at the same time, I still don't like Bill Belichick and the Patriots. So I don't necessarily want them to do well.
Right.
as a bit of a hater. And, you all want to argue with me. It's like, Steven, you're being a bit of a hater. I'm creating a podcast called Dey Bitching where I'm literally bitching about my own team. I'm a fucking hater, and you're just going to deal with it.
Yeah. And it's okay because I'm a hater. I'm a hater as well.
Yeah.
So I'm not a Brady fan either.
I absolutely.
Now, he's trying to prove the same thing. I could do it without Belichick. Well, you don't have Belichick. You're in a tougher division. You're reaching for
much toucher. Holy crap.
You pulled Gronkowski out of retirement to try to help you, he got a rude awakening. Saints right off the bat. He got a rude awakening.
Oh, yeah.
I
hope he continues. I just really want to be right.
Right.
I like
so then you can go back and say, I fucking told you so.
But you know what the Tom Brady lovers of the world are going to say, right? You know what they're going to say. Well, it's not because he's a bad quarterback. He's just getting old. They're going to say.
They're going to use the age.
As soon as he does. Yeah, as soon as they're going to go to age. It's like, he's 43 or 42 or whatever he is right now. He's in his early 40s. And they're gonna argue and they're gonna say it's just his age, But I think he's a system quarterback. I think that's why I never. I'm
not a New England fan or a Belichick fan either, but it's been proven time and time again. Jimmy Garoppolo was in New England. You took Cam Newton, who's been injury prone and played like crap in his first game. He looks like the young Cam Newton again. I mean, it's fact.
Exactly. And my biggest evidence to my point is that year Tom Brady went injured. Now they didn't go to the playoffs. They went 11-5. They went 11-5 without Tom Brady from the beginning.
Yeah.
And with the backup. And you're telling me that it's Tom Brady is the greatest of all time? Tom Brady makes you better, sure. You're not the greatest quarterback of all time. That's Peyton fucking Manning.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That was
Peyton Manning is
fucking Manning.
Peyton Manning, I believe, is the greatest quarterback that I've seen. I don't know if I can fully argue that because, I didn't watch Joe Montana. I was too young to really watch him critically. I'm too young to see Dan Marino. I remember those guys, but I didn't. I think it was
right. You were still young.
7. I was super young and wasn't I didn't fully embrace my love for football. No, I've always been a Bengals fan.
Me too.
Started pretty much watching when right after they won the Super Bowl is when I kind of started getting into it, and I would watch the Bengals every week. But until I believe after I graduated, I didn't watch other games. I just watched the
strictly
Bengals.
like a Bengals guy. Okay.
I simply watched the Bengals. So I can't argue other players unless they played the Bengals. And I didn't watch it critically, it's kind of like I'm doing a show called The Rage and Blaze Show, and now I'm watching wrestling critically. And I'm calling out things that I don't like.
That's
right. Many people have maybe said some things because I'm a little bit of a pessimist. I
listen to the show.
Yeah, I know you do.
I know what you're saying.
As much as you love football, you love the wrestling a little bit more, I would say.
Yeah, I got a little bit of a wrestling problem. Yeah.
Yeah. No one said.
But I used to always talking about Brady again for a minute. I used to always say, if you pluck Tom Brady out of New England and put him on the Cleveland Browns, he's not going to win 14, 15 games.
No, and that's another thing. And this is why I argue, because a lot of people like to argue Super Bowls are the main thing that matters. It's how many Super Bowls you won. I disagree. Because to me, a Super Bowl is about your entire team. Yeah. That means your team is one of the best. There's no denying, even with the cheating, and I hate them, there's no denying the Patriots are one of the best teams, best dynasties that have ever come around.
But dynasty and team. That's the key. Like you
Yes.
just said, I don't care about Dan Marino. If you look at Dan Marino's stats, he's one of the best quarterbacks, that have been around ever. Never won a ring. Never had a ring. Never. Never
No,
had a
he
ring.
never had a ring. And there's a lot of people that are just going to say that no ring means he's not
You're
one
no
of the
good.
best quarterbacks of all time. And I think that's bullshit. That is a
Yeah.
bullshit argument. When it comes to individual, you have to look at their individual, performance. When you're talking about a player, you got to look at individual performance. I say, Super Bowls should matter about maybe 25% of their legacy.
Yeah. Per
You won
individual players.
you won a lot of Super Bowls. Hooray! That's great. You're telling me that you're entire. You also lost some. I mean, Tom Brady hasn't gone to the Super. Has gone to the Super Bowl many times. He's lost.
Yeah.
It's a team effort. When it comes to the Super Bowl, it's team effort.
Yeah.
And when I watch Tom Brady, I watch a lot of dinking and dunking. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. It works pretty damn good for him. You throw it to that wide receiver, he manages to get some escapes. He gets that touchdown. That helps him out. But the person such a beautiful deep throw. That's Peyton Manning. I remember watching his games and just being like so impressed every time I watch him. I look at him and I test right there. It's like he's amazing. I look at Aaron Rodgers very similar to that. I still think Peyton's better, but I also I like Aaron
Okay, but you're going
Rodgers.
a whole nother rant there. Aaron Rodgers should be better than he is. Aaron Rodgers should probably be somewhere besides Green Bay. That's just my opinion. I mean, the talent's there, but yeah, Payne's in the top 5, easy.
Oh,
Peyton Manning's got to be in the top 5.
I feel like if he's not at least 2, that's a travesty. I mean,
Right.
he's won 2 Super Bowls. Now, I recognize that second Super Bowl was won essentially by Denver's defense, and Peyton didn't have a large part of it. But if you're gonna brag about all Tom Brady's Super Bowls and not
Right.
look at the rest of them, then it doesn't matter, does it?
No,
He
exactly.
won those 2 Super Bowls, right?
Exactly. Shit. That's my, when those Browns fans like to try to get in my face, I tell them at least we went to the Super Bowl twice.
Exactly.
May not have won. Oh, and by the way, we lost to the 49ers, and the second time was
Twice.
I'm pretty sure Jerry was there. Yeah, I mean, come on, you got Joe Montana,
49ers
Jerry
twice.
Rice. Yeah. Speaking of which, when I was a kid, my favorite quarterback was Boomer Esiason. So,
Mine too.
I mean, that's part of where the nickname came from, right there.
Mine too, and I literally my favorite. I mean, for the people who have favorite numbers, my favorite number is 7 because of Boomer Esiason.
Yeah.
Now
I don't even know if you remember, but we actually got to see Boomer Esiason in his last game.
Did we? Oh yeah.
He wasn't starting. He wasn't the starter, but he went back to Cincinnati because he wanted to finish there, and they ended up putting him in the game because the Bengals were so far ahead anyway.
Yeah.
But, yeah,
we did.
Stadium got really loud, and yeah, we got to see that.
Yeah, I mean, I was really young when I liked Boomer. I think mainly because he was probably the best player I saw as a kid. I don't remember him as much because, like I said, I didn't really start getting majorly into football until. Actually, you know what? I have to give it to fantasy. Fantasy football really got me into all football. I mean, I would watch Bengals religiously when I was a kid, but now I watch all the games I can. Thursday night football. If I'm not doing something else, no matter who the game is, I'll watch it normally.
Yeah.
Big matchup, I'll watch it. I would have probably watched that Buccaneers and Saints game if I wasn't watching Bengals.
Right.
Yeah.
And I guess that's one advantage when I'm at work because I get to see a little bit of all the games.
Yeah, that's one nice thing about working at a sports bar.
Yeah, they have them. All the games are playing on the TV. So, and we had a good crowd. We had a lot of people for the Browns games, of course. But there's a lot of Bengals fans that come in too.